Hello there, friends of the framework. My goodness, good to be here again with you today. Let me know if you're here. Go ahead and put your comment in the comments there and let me see who's here. I know we always have our regulars, and I saw that they had RSVP'd, so I expect a few of you that are always here will still be here, and good to see you. And so, yeah, always good to know who's here. Yes, welcome, David. You're always here. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome. And Lisa. Great, Lisa's watching today. And Chris, there you are, Chris. Good. Well, welcome everyone. Let's get started. Today we're going to talk about celebrations, and what a fun topic, right? So really in thinking about this idea of celebration and using it as a tactic in a journey to greatness and cultural transformation, it might seem like soft stuff, right? Some of the stuff we talk about might seem like soft stuff, but it's real powerful. So just think about it. Like, what's the vibe like in your department, in your organization, maybe even in your family or group of friends, or your community when there's a celebration going on, right? Does it not just change the vibe when there's a party going on, and even the anticipation of a celebration gets people kind of juiced up and changes the vibe in the room or in the department or the organization, etc. So, you know, this idea of harnessing that and using this as a tactic for improving your culture and having a culture that flourishes to get great results, you know, it's not soft stuff. It may be simple, but it doesn't mean that it's not impactful. So that positivity created is what you want in your culture. We know that positivity helps a culture thrive. And so this is another tactic to up the volume on positivity. And, you know, that's really the issue that we are seeing with our partner organizations out there. And when we assess organizations, talk to leaders and employees out there, is, you know, there really is a very low volume often of celebration in organizations. And what I mean by low volume is the quantity of celebrations that are taking place, but also low volume meaning the loudness of them. So they might be, you know, just real, you know, quietly going about celebrating things when things could be celebrated on a louder level at a higher volume. And really also a problem that we see out there is that maybe celebrations are lacking luster or meaning, so they're not really connected. Maybe their purpose for having a celebration is really diluted and it's not so obvious or loud as well. So we like to say that you can't over communicate, you can't over compliment, and you can't over celebrate, right? So really upping the volume on those things are important in a culture. But, you know, actually you probably can over these things, over communicate, over celebrate, over compliment, if they're done the wrong way. I mean, you can way over communicate, but it can be chaotic and, you know, very low impact because you're overdoing it and it doesn't have meaning and it's not systematic and purposeful. And, you know, compliments can be overdone. You know, just increasing the volume isn't all it takes to make compliments improve your positivity ratio in your culture. So, you know, it has to be linked to that meaning and that purpose and doing it with heart. And so the same is true with celebrations, is that they need to be purposeful and with heart and have meaning. And so just increasing the volume as in quantity isn't going to get you the kind of impact you want or need in your culture. It's really about increasing the meaningfulness so that you get a greater impact from the celebration. So that's really what I want to focus on here. You know, I was reflecting, we do coaching calls with our partner organizations that we're, you know, strategizing for and coaching long term, and we check in with their steering team that's championing these transformational efforts. And, you know, a practice that we teach them is to always start a meeting with wins and successes. So really talking about what's going well, what are we celebrating that is a win for us in our journey and our transformation. And so, you know, when I see organizations, especially the steering team that really wants this to, to happen, and they're working really hard to make it happen, when they themselves are struggling to talk about, and acknowledge things to be celebrated, then likely that's systematic in the organization. And we could find that, evidence everywhere, probably in the organization. And I was really reflecting on that recently because I was noticing a trend of that, people are struggling, it seems, to come up with what to celebrate. So this idea that a celebration has to be huge and big doesn't necessarily make it more impactful. Celebrating small wins along the way is really one of the tactics. And so when I was reflecting on this, I was thinking, do they not see things to celebrate? Are they not recognizing what's good around them to be celebrated? Or is it that they somehow feel restricted in some way about bringing that out in celebration? So which is it? Do they not recognize it, or are they unwilling to act on it and celebrate it? So, that was a question that was actually circling in my brain when I chose this topic was, celebrations, big or small, is really important. So, anyway, let's talk about some tactics to kind of up your celebration as a useful strategy in your journey to greatness, or a culture that gets great results. Is really changing the definition of what's worthy of celebration. We teach this with encouraging leaders and even employees to compliment their peers more, is to increase the volume of this and keep it sincere. Maybe we need to change the definition of what's worthy of a compliment or what's worthy of celebration so it applies to both. And what I mean by that is, again, honoring those small things maybe that are should be celebrated before you get to the big things. And maybe if we celebrate those small things along the way, we have a better chance to get those big wins and have those big celebrations. And I believe that to be true. We talk about this, even when we talk about the strategy of having a robust goal cycle in your organization, is that, you set a big goal maybe for the year, and maybe the organization sets, 4 to 7 big goals for the year that you're going to measure and have action plans and work around. And in departments, you might do the same thing, set 2 or 3 very specific goals of things that you're going to work on and improve. But you don't want to wait until the year is over and you've achieved the goal before you celebrate. You don't want to wait 12, 13, 14 months to celebrate when those results are in and you won the game, right? So don't hold your celebrations off to the end and the big thing. Use celebration as a tactic you can use along the way. So a way to do that is, let's say you set a big goal, break it down into little mini bite-sized goals. That you can set these milestones and, along the way. And that way you have lots of opportunities to celebrate. Okay. So take your big goal, break it down into these little mini goals, and then you have lots of opportunities to celebrate. So I use this example a lot when I'm teaching the goal cycle and how you can link celebration to the goal cycle and use it actually as a strategy to help you achieve your goals. Is, my son's a hockey player, and you guys know that by now if you've been listening. And I use a lot of analogies to sports. I was an athlete myself on a championship volleyball team. And so, I see the analogies between leadership and teamwork and, but, even on this area of celebrate along the way, when my son is at a hockey game like he was the other night, every time there's a big hit, every time there's a big save, every time there's a goal, we cheer, right? When you see them out there and they're playing hard, you cheer and you celebrate them all along the way. You don't sit there quietly in your seats watching the whole game, and then when it's finally over and they won, then you stand up and you clap, right? No, that would so not be me. And that's not anyone else I see there in the stands either at a hockey game. So let's apply this to work, right? And having a goal. So if your goal is to win the game, to hit this certain result in patient satisfaction, or hit this certain profit margin, etc., set these little mini goals along the way and celebrate these mini goals, but also celebrate the progress. the behaviors that you see changing. So celebrate the things that are positive, and those are the small wins you can celebrate, so that the big celebrations, that those really they come more often if you're celebrating along the way. So it's a tactic to attaining your results. So also celebrate, another tactic is to celebrate at kind of keep the loudness of the celebration or the magnitude of the celebration in line with what you're celebrating, right? So if you're celebrating small wins or whatever, don't overdo it, right? But, make it loud enough so it's impactful. But, you don't want to like have this huge, ginormous celebration necessarily for something that was minor, because then what are you going to do when it goes big and you have a huge win? How are you going to top that? So kind of scale your celebrations to the progress. Don't minimize the celebration necessarily in its meaning and its purposefulness, but just really think about the loudness of it, and the bigger the win, the louder it can be, and so kind of scale it in that way. That would be a recommendation. And really probably maybe the most important tactic in regard to effective celebrations and useful celebrations is to use this mantra: party with purpose, okay? Party with purpose. Not just because it's Friday, not just because, it's a holiday, but party with meaning and purpose to what you're trying to achieve. So if you're trying to achieve greater patient satisfaction, party to that purpose. Find all sorts of reasons to party towards that purpose. There's, celebrating that it's Friday just doesn't get it, folks. Party with purpose. Another, and we're all about, reconnecting to pride, purpose, and joy in our workplaces, in our industry. In fact, we think that we're becoming, really low in those elements of pride, purpose, and joy, and celebration, and partying with purpose can help us in this regard. And so the other thing we might want to do, a tactic, is to plan the party before even the win or the activity to create the win. I'll give an example of that. I'm on the board of our local hospice, and I didn't notice if Tracy's on or some of those folks today. But anyway, on our hospice board, when we first built our hospice house, and it's totally operated where we don't charge any of our patients for the residential fees of residential hospice care. We're the only one in our state that doesn't. So that means we have to raise a lot of money, folks, right? And so as a board member, that's one of our responsibilities, is to help in that effort. And when we first built the house, we certainly had big needs for the capital campaign of that. And one of the things that we did right after we opened the house, and now we have this big mortgage for this residential hospice house, is we set a goal that we wanted to pay off the mortgage by the end of the calendar year that we opened the house. Really, that was a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? And so we put it out there that was our goal, right? But what we didn't do, we said if that happened by the end of the year, we would have a mortgage burning party at the house on, December 31st. We would host this mortgage burning party to celebrate meeting that goal. So we had the idea for the party, but guess what? We didn't plan the logistics of it. And you would not believe it that the morning of December 31st, a major donor came through, called and said, what is it going to take to pay off the mortgage to meet your goal today? And it happened. And boy, did we scramble to have a party, because we promised that party, right? So, I think that in the community expected it, and people showed up, but it was a lot of stress there. So sometimes if you plan something big like that, and you're not sure whether you're going to meet it or not, maybe plan the party before, right? And be ready. So I just give that as a tactic of warning. And it's a good problem to have, to be quite honest. And we were happy to be under that scramble. But, Jane used that tactic in her department one time related to, they had a quarterly goal for a certain quality effort. And it was a mini goal towards their big goal. And what they did in that regard is, they hung it out there. The team that was working on making that improvement said, hey, Cinco de Mayo is coming up, and wouldn't it be fun to have a Cinco de Mayo themed party? But that party isn't going to happen if we don't meet this goal. And here's the goal. Here's the action plan. Let's go, team. And if we do this, here's the party, right? And again, work on that party because, it might happen. They might meet that goal, and there's a bigger chance they will if they know what's at the end of it and how they will be celebrated. So kind of hang it out there. Be proactive about your tactics and hang it out there as a promise, so that the party has purpose, but maybe there's a promise for that party too. If this, then that. So how about some ideas, right? How about some ideas that you can possibly case, copy and steal everything, but make it yours, make it better. So our partners out there are, putting on parties all the time. They're, showing great examples of how they celebrate both big and small. And so I wanted to share some of those ideas with you. You could probably do a search out there and find lots of examples too, but I want to share some. One tactic in particular is, what about some of those examples out there where maybe you expand the audience of your party. So maybe you're celebrating something in your department, but a win in your department. But what if you actually started to include others in your party? And an example of that, this is kind of one that's legendary, and we use it in our training frequently around the topic of celebration, is the Cherry Festival. So at War Memorial Hospital on Med-Surg, when they had met 100% compliance on their quality core measures for a certain number of trended months in a row, they celebrated that in Michigan, the National Cherry Festival, Jane's hometown, Traverse City. It's kind of a big deal. So they did a Cherry Festival themed celebration, but they just didn't keep it to their department, right? They made it big. They even involved patients. Patients got cherry jello or cherry crisp or whatever, a cherry pie on their trays. Patients wore stickers, that said 100%, and the 2 zeros were cherries, and they talked to patients about what that meant. So with our celebrations, again, to make them louder, sometimes we need an example and a plan for involving others, and that makes it louder. So that other people know what we're up to and what we accomplished. And in particular, your customers, Schoolcraft Memorial Hospital, they have this event, I think it's always around Thanksgiving time, where they engage their community, and it says, pop in and give thanks. Pop in and give thanks. I love that. And they have great participation from their community who shows up, who comes to the hospital to thank the staff that have served them so well, right? And they get an opportunity to say thanks, and the organization makes it easy for them to do that. The staff loves it, the community does it, and they show up, and I think that's beautiful. Many of our partners are using the tactic of creating a celebration cart. And one of our partners just went live with theirs this week, and we got a picture of their first celebration using their celebration cart. So sometimes one of the barriers to great celebration is just the time it takes, or maybe you're caught off guard like we were, and you gotta, pull off a party in short notice. And so you don't want to be that barrier to be, I don't have time to pull that off. I can't be, I don't have time to be creative around this or whatever. So if that's the case, having a celebration cart that is on the ready to make it really easy for a team or a department or organization to celebrate something, without putting a lot of time and energy or effort into it, and it kind of makes it easy. So it's kind of like a party in the box, but it's on a cart, and it has different themes and things like that. So that's really a cool idea you might want to case. Another idea you certainly probably want to case is to really understand in your department who around you in your organization are the chief party officers, right? there are people out there that love to plan parties, they love to celebrate, they love to be the people that make it happen. And so maybe if it's not you and you're the leader and of the team or the department and you have something to celebrate, and the reason it's not happening is because you just can't pull it off yourself, don't think you have to. There are people out there that would love to be tapped on the shoulder and be your designated chief party officers, right? So engage them, let them run with it. Yes, you might, proceed until apprehended. So another mantra of ours, but yeah, engage those folks who just are naturals at this and love it and would love to contribute in that way. We talked, right at the beginning about the vibe that is created when we celebrate, and usually, that's certainly around positivity, but it's often around fun. So really trying to figure out, and your chief party officers, I think that's what makes them great, is they're usually fun people. They're very creative, fun people. And so an element of fun, our friends at Eaton Rapids Medical Center, I love their themed fun Willy Wonka event that they did, of course, with candy. But it was, really around willingness to recommend. They took what they were celebrating, their purpose. Patients were more willing to recommend them than ever before, which they wanted to celebrate. And so they had a themed party that was themed around Willy Wonka, and that was fun, right? And it had candy, and sometimes people say to us, can we celebrate without food, right? Really, why does every celebration have to be about food? Are you with me on that, folks? Yeah, say yes if you are. That doesn't really have to involve food. And sometimes, yes, it does. And a lot of those celebration carts, they have a food element to them. I get it. But kind of food is social. We're trying to be healthier in our workplaces, so it doesn't have to be candy. It could be carrots and celery, but we could make healthy fun as well. When we party. Speaking about food, Brighton Center for Recovery, one of the things that one of their teams did, they were celebrating a mini goal, some of the things that one of their employee-driven teams was working on, and in that effort, they did use food, and they took little potato chip bags. They put a big sticker on it that said, "You're all that," in a bag of chips, and then also put, the information on there about, the goal result that was being celebrated, or the mini goal that was being celebrated. And I just passed these all out in the organization, right? So it was food related, and sometimes it is, it might be, thanks a latte in a latte cart or whatever. But another thing outside of celebrating with food, and an idea there, is having a celebration banner. We see this tactic like having a symbol that lets the organization know we're celebrating, or let the people know we're celebrating, and that it's symbolic. And so it might be that it's kind of a quiet celebration, but let's say it's this. Your organization might have a big goal to improve patient satisfaction, which is a common goal that healthcare organizations have. And so, they might look at that at a departmental level, and they might look at, which department has improved the most in the last quarter. And then that department gets to put that banner in their department, that celebration banner in their department, until the next department. So it's like a roaming trophy kind of thing, or banner. So there's an idea of, kind of a simple celebration symbolically, right? And you could have a kickoff party for that when they receive the banner and are recognized, and they could be recognized in the newsletter for the organization that they're the ones that received it, and then anyone that comes onto that unit will see that banner or whatever into that department. So there's an idea of simple celebrations scaled to the result, and very purposeful, very easy to do. It can involve other people and engage other people. So there's our ideas there, folks, right? There's, some great tactics for making celebrations impactful and purposeful, maybe even fun. And of course, that positivity and vibe of fun is what we're going for really in our culture, that purpose, that pride, and that joy. And that can be accomplished through celebration, or it can be a big component of it. So, we hope your next party is your best party, right? We hope your next celebration is your best celebration. And thanks for joining me again today. And if you want to find more about what we're up to at Capstone Leadership Solutions and how we can maybe help you as a leader or your department or your division or your entire organization beyond what you might find here in these live events or other communications in our Fans of the Framework group, please reach out to us on our website, capstoneleadership.net. There's lots of information about our public training events, our new cohort group that's starting up in April for our Nurse Greatness cohort, and then also certainly our partnerships with healthcare divisions or entire organizations. And so if you're interested in learning more about any of that, capstoneleadership.net is our website. And there's a place on there even to reach out to book a call with us so we can even talk to you more personally about what your needs might be and how we may help. So have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we'll see you next time on Live.